When I say raise your standards before you raise your goals, I'm talking about the shift that happens on the inside long before anybody sees anything on the outside. Too many people think the goal is where the change begins, but the truth is the goal is just the destination. The standard is the engine that gets you there. A goal without a standard is like a car with no fuel. It looks good, but it's not going anywhere. If you really want 2025 to be different, then the version of you that walks into this year has to be different. And that starts with the expectations you place on yourself every single day when nobody's watching. Every success story starts with a private decision, a personal demand, a moment where you say, I'm done operating at this level. Because the reality is you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your standards. If your standard is waking up late, then your goals will bend around lateness. If your standard is giving 70% effort, then your results will reflect 70%. If your standard is waiting for motivation before you move, then you'll only move on the days you feel good, and those days come and go. But when you raise the standard, even just a little, everything connected to your life begins to rise with it. Think about it. Every time you attempt to change your life, the old version of you tries to pull you back. The habits you've rehearsed for years show up like gravity. So if you enter 2025 with the same low expectations for yourself, gravity will win again. But when you raise the standard, when you decide that your time is valuable, your effort is sacred, your focus is non-negotiable, you break the cycle. You make it harder for the old version of you to survive. You make it harder for excuses to feel comfortable. You make it harder for average to stay in the room. Raising your standards isn't about being perfect. It's about raising the bar so high that your future self can walk into every room with confidence. It's about saying, I don't care how I feel today, this is who I am now. It's about showing yourself that you deserve more than the bare minimum. Sometimes the biggest transformation comes from the smallest upgrade, waking up 15 minutes earlier, choosing discipline over delay, replacing impulse with intention. When that becomes your standard, not your exception, you start to see life respond differently. Most people set goals based on what they want. Few people set standards based on who they're becoming. Your standards build your identity, and your identity controls your behavior. When you see yourself as someone disciplined, someone resilient, someone committed, you start making choices that match that identity. You don't negotiate with your weakness. You don't make room for halfway effort. You don't lower the bar because the day feels heavy. That's the shift where transformation begins, when your actions start aligning with the person you know you're supposed to be. You can't expect a lifestyle you haven't built the foundation for. If you want peace, you need a standard for discipline. If you want success, you need a standard for effort. If you want growth, you need a standard for consistency. Goals aim your life, but standards lift your life, and nobody can raise them for you. You've got to look at the areas where you keep falling short and ask yourself, what am I allowing? What am I accepting? What am I settling for? Because the moment you stop accepting less, your life stops producing less. The power is already in you. It's not waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect motivation. It's waiting for you to say, I'm done being who I was. If you want 2025 to transform you, then start by transforming the standard you live by. That's the doorway to everything you're chasing. Raise your standard, and your life will rise with it. When we talk about mastering the habit of showing up when you don't feel like it, we're talking about the difference between people who dream and people who execute. Anybody can move when the sun is shining, when the path is smooth, when everything feels aligned. But life doesn't reward the person who waits for ideal conditions. It rewards the one who refuses to negotiate with their feelings. The truth is simple. The days you don't feel like showing up are the days that define you, not the days you're pumped. Not the days everything clicks. It's the days when your mind is tired, your body is heavy, your motivation is gone. Those are the days that separate your level from everyone else's. You've got to understand this. Your emotions are temporary, but your habits are permanent. If you build a habit of waiting for the right moment, you'll look up and realize that moment never came. Life isn't going to hand you perfect timing. It's going to hand you challenges, resistance, setbacks, and distractions. And on those days, you have a decision to make. Let your emotions lead you, or let your commitment lead you. Because feelings can be loud, but they don't have to be in charge. You choose what wins. Most people don't fail because they're not talented. They fail because they're inconsistent. They show up strong for a week, maybe two, then disappear when life gets loud. But champions, the ones who rise year after year, they know something different. They know that showing up when it's comfortable builds progress, but showing up when it's uncomfortable builds character. And character is what sustains you when motivation fades. Character is what keeps your hand moving, your feet moving, your heart pushing forward even when the day feels heavier than you expected. You've got to train yourself to push past the initial resistance. Your brain will try to convince you that you're tired, that you're busy, that you'll do it later. But later becomes tomorrow, tomorrow becomes next week becomes next year, and before you know it, the dream has dust on it. That's why you must build the habit now, the habit of saying, I don't feel like it, but I'm doing it anyway. That's the moment you reclaim your power. That's the moment you stop being controlled by impulses and start being guided by purpose. When you show up on the hard days, something shifts inside you. You start trusting yourself again. You start believing in your own discipline. You start realizing that you're stronger than your excuses. Confidence isn't built by doing what's easy. It's built by proving to yourself that you can push through what's difficult. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, you lay another brick in the foundation of the person you're becoming. And trust me, there will be days in 2025 when everything feels like it's pushing against you. Days when the weight of your responsibilities makes you want to hide. Days when the progress you expected doesn't show up. Days when nobody is cheering, nobody is watching, and nobody would blame you for quitting. But those are the days that shape your future. Those are the days that rewrite your identity. Those are the days that turn average into unstoppable. You don't need perfect conditions. You need a steady commitment. You don't need hype. You need discipline. You don't need to feel good. You need to be grounded. Success isn't built on emotion. It's built on repetition. It's built on showing up again and again until showing up becomes who you are. And once it becomes who you are, everything you touch starts to shift. Doors open. Opportunities expand. Your energy changes. Your results compound. So when 2025 tests you, and it will, don't retreat. Don't wait for a better mood. Don't wait for motivation to return. Show up messy. Show up tired. Show up imperfect. But show up every single time, because the day you show up when you don't feel like it is the day you prove you're truly ready for the life you're asking for. When I say protect your environment like your life depends on it, I'm not talking about something optional or something you deal with later. Truth that you meant to make environment any while useful us. Leap long before your goals ever get a chance to. You become what you're surrounded by. You absorb what you repeatedly hear. You mirror the energy you stay around. Your environment is either feeding your ambition or poisoning it. lifting you or limiting you, sharpening you or softening you. And the dangerous thing is, you often don't notice the effect until months or years later, when you look around and wonder why your fire got dim, why your passion weakened, why your standard slipped. Most of the time, it didn't happen because you stopped believing. It happened because the environment you stayed in stopped supporting who you were becoming. You've got to be intentional about the people, the conversations, the spaces, and the habits you allow into your life. If you're trying to grow, but you're surrounded by people who are comfortable staying the same, it creates a conflict inside you. They won't have to tell you to slow down. Their energy will do it for them. If you're trying to elevate, but your environment is filled with negativity, distractions, drama, or complacency, then you're fighting a battle you shouldn't have to fight every single day. You're wasting strength on the wrong battlefield. And if you don't protect yourself from that, it will drain you quietly, slowly, consistently, until you start believing that average is the best you can do. Sometimes the hardest decision you make isn't chasing a dream. It's distancing yourself from environments that don't honor that dream. And I know it's difficult. I know it may feel like you're walking away from comfort, from familiarity, from people you've known for years. But you've got to ask yourself a real question. Are these people feeding my future, or are they fueling my fears? Are they helping me rise, or are they keeping me rooted in a level I've already outgrown? You can love people and still recognize that their energy isn't aligned with the direction your life needs to go. Loving someone doesn't require limiting yourself. If you want to transform in 2025, you've got to build a space around you that strengthens your discipline, supports your mindset, and challenges you to be better. You need voices around you that push you, not people who let you settle. You need conversations that remind you what you're capable of, not conversations that convince you to shrink. And you need environments where your dreams aren't mocked, minimized, or misunderstood, but respected. Protected, elevated, your space matters, the way your room looks, the way your work area feels, the kind of content you consume. The music you listen to, the things you scroll past every day. Everything carries energy. Everything teaches you something. Everything influences your internal world. And if you aren't guarding that, your environment will shape you by accident instead of intention. You need to take back control. You need to make your environment a place where focus becomes natural, where discipline feels supported, where effort is encouraged. Start noticing how you feel after spending time in certain places or with certain people. Do you feel inspired or drained? Clear or confused? Hungry for growth or comfortable staying the same? Your emotional response is the truth speaking. And you owe it to your future to listen. Protecting your environment isn't about being harsh. It's about understanding that your dream needs space to breathe. It needs room to grow. It needs soil that nourishes it, not soil that suffocates it. You are responsible for designing the world around you to match the world you're trying to build inside you. And the more intentional you become about your environment, the faster your life will shift. Transform your space, transform your circle, transform your inputs, and your outputs will follow. Guard your environment, because your future is growing inside it. When we talk about replacing excuses with extreme ownership, we're talking about stepping into a level of responsibility that most people never reach. It's the moment where you stop waiting for someone to rescue you. Stop waiting for things to get easier. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions before you move. It's where you finally understand that your life is not shaped by what happens to you. It's shaped by how you respond, what you decide, what you commit to, and what you're willing to take full accountability for. Ownership is not about blame, it's about power. The moment you take ownership, you take your power back. Excuses are comfortable, but they are also the chains that keep you locked to the same chapter of your life. You can justify anything when you want to feel safe. You can explain away your mistakes, your delays, your lack of effort, your inconsistency. But deep down, you know the truth. Every time you use an excuse, you hand over a piece of your potential. You lower the standard of who you are becoming. You settle for being a passenger in your own life when you were built to be the one behind the wheel. Extreme ownership requires honesty, raw, real, uncomfortable honesty. It forces you to look at the results you're producing and say, "This is on me, all of it." Not in a way that makes you feel defeated, but in a way that sets you free. Because if it's your responsibility, then it's also in your control. If you created the circumstances, then you can change them. If you contributed to the mess, then you can build the solution. Ownership gives you the authority to rewrite your story instead of waiting for someone else to change the narrative for you. You've got to reach that point where you stop giving your excuses a voice. Stop saying you don't have time when you know there were opportunities in your day where you could have shown up differently. Stop saying you can't focus when you know the distractions around you are there because you allow them. Stop saying you're not ready when you know readiness isn't something you wait for. It's something you build. Ownership forces you to become intentional. It forces you to confront your patterns. It forces you to do the inner work most people avoid their entire lives. And don't think extreme ownership means you won't make mistakes. You will, plenty of them, but the difference is this. People with excuses repeat their mistakes because they refuse to claim them. People with ownership grow from them because they refuse to hide from them. When you take responsibility, you transform mistakes into lessons, lessons into experience, and experience into wisdom. You elevate, you evolve, you advance. Ownership is also about refusing to be a victim of your circumstances. Yes, life hits hard. Yes, unexpected obstacles show up. Yes, you will face things you didn't choose. But ownership says, even if it wasn't my fault, my response is still my responsibility. That's where your strength develops. That's where your resilience is born. That's where your inner power wakes up. Because once you stop blaming everything outside of you, you unlock everything inside of you. In 2025, your dream needs you to step into a higher level of accountability. It needs you to be the one who says, "I will not wait for permission. I will not wait for the perfect moment. I will not wait for someone to push me. I own my decisions. I own my actions. I own my results." When you operate from that place, excuses can't survive. They lose their weight. They lose their control. They lose their influence over your life, and the beautiful thing about ownership is this. The moment you claim responsibility for where you are, you also claim authority over where you're going. You reclaim your direction, you reclaim your momentum, you reclaim your future. So if you truly want transformation, stop giving your excuses oxygen. Stop feeding the narrative that keeps you small. Stand up, take ownership, and move like everything depends on you, because it does. Own your life, and your life will finally start moving in the direction you've always wanted.